June 1st, 2026. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. I'm starting the video early and going to end it early. There's still about an hour left of trading, but I'm just going to go review the chart as I see it at the moment, as well as the one trade that I took. Overall, the market closed on Friday, end of the month, and then in the pre-market, it looked like it spiked up, took everything back, and shot lower, shot even lower, then opened, moved sideways, kind of looked like it made one move up, small two legs down, and another push back up. A little bit choppy. There weren't too many setups that I found. So the only economic data that came out was around 7 a.m. Pacific Standard, which is about right here, was ISM Manufacturing PMI. Other than that, there was nothing else that really came out to move the markets. So the pre-market, it looked like it was a spike in the shallow channel. Looked like maybe it's one or two legs down, pushes back up. You could argue maybe three legs up or one kind of bigger leg up. I didn't bother keeping this here because it doesn't really matter, as well as I don't trade this time. So it sells off. I thought there was, if I saw this, I thought there might have been a possible trade here, but in hindsight, when I look at it, it doesn't, it's a little bit ambiguous because it does look like it's two legs up. There was some kind of support here, so maybe it's going to move all the way back up to the high side of this possible range. But if this showed up in real time, I don't think I would have taken it. It does look like an almost trade because, you know, if it was red, they give us something else to throw in the corner to say that that's a valid trade, but nothing, none of that really set up. It's just something I noticed when I was just doing the early morning review. And then prices sold off on this orange down channel, breaks, tests the low, pushes up, sells off, and it starts on the open. On the open, it pushes up and actually makes a new low, but there's no setup here. Technically, you have a new high, first entry long pullback, second entry long, but this is just right in the first minute of trading that it's hard to trust anything in the first minute when things are so volatile, especially on a new first day of the month. Then prices move up this kind of shallow orange up channel, but there's no setups here. Creates a localized high. It's a first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but it looks like it's just one leg down, pullback, second leg, maybe a visual second entry long here, but there's no trade here. Then when it keeps going down, it kind of matches this yellow, this orange down channel high side. So I thought maybe it's moving down this channel. Hits the low side, kind of has a double test here, pushes up and pushes back down. It actually sets up for my one and only trade. So when I see this in real time, what I'm thinking is, okay, prices look like they're bottoming here. They look like they're hitting some kind of support here. This dark blue line doesn't get really established until a little bit later. Looks like it's a visual first entry, pullback, second entry. There's a triple test, and it also looks like a visual first entry short, second entry short. Second entry short is about to fail and confirm my second entry, visual second entry long. Break of this orange down channel. This orange down channel is really kind of wide for the size of it, meaning like if this is starting from way up here and coming down, then you trust that channel a lot more. This does feel a little bit shorter and stubby, but I had two things going for it. I was thinking this orange down channel, if it was in play, maybe it's going to make one attempt down. This could be the second attempt, and it could be flushing back up. But I was mainly basing it off of this potential triple test, failed second entry short. So I entered one tick above, pushes down. My stop wasn't below this guy. It was actually below this guy because this is the 3-point bar. So it's a little bit higher risk because it's actually, I think, closer to 3.5 or 3.25. And I was only going for 6 ticks. Pushes up, gives you the 6 ticks. The prices continue moving up. Comes down, gives you a multiple test here, but if I didn't take this trade, I definitely wouldn't be looking for anything here yet because there's nothing setting up here. You just have maybe a potential multiple test off this possible support line right here. So it bounces and it flushes up. It was a new high, first entry long pullback. I thought this is a hidden second entry long. In a brief moment of thought, I thought maybe there was a trade here. And I hesitated, really didn't think too much of it. And even if I did try to take it, I don't know that unless it's a stop limit order and was ready for it, it's hard to get an entry here because even if I did drop it right when it closed, it might have flushed up and NinjaTrader might have kicked out my order. So it pushes up it hits the high side. And I do establish this line now because I thought it was like one touch, technically 2 and 3 touches, but I said 1, 2, and I call this kind of the triple test, but there's nothing that sets up here. Pushes down. It's a first entry long. Let me squeeze this down a little bit. First entry long pullback. It's a second entry long here. I like that it moved below this guy and engulfed it completely. But this trade, I call it an almost because this is coming from the high side down. This is also coming from the high side, but you have a visual first entry and then you have a technical second entry. Engulfs this guy, which is pretty nice. This is kind of a similar setup. But what I don't like about this is this looks like it might be moving its way up. This looks like it's just came from the high side. So my expectation is to break, test the low of this orange. So even though the next couple candles could give you 6 ticks, it feels a little dicier as opposed to what I considered here. I'm coming off of this support. So I'm coming off of this strong area pushing up, and this is a little bit opposite. I'm coming from the strong area here pushing down, and I'm asking it to go back up, whereas this is kind of going with the momentum. In this case, it would have worked, then pushes down. Looks like it's one leg pullback, second leg sideways, and a third leg. Hits a triple test confirmation here. There's 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. Nothing sets up nicely. Pushes up. You have a first entry short, second entry short. I don't like that there's a little tail here. Maybe multiple tests here, but other than a multiple test, it doesn't really set up nicely either. Prices then continue moving up. It looks like it's moving up this shallow channel here. I have this confirmed trend line right about here, then I trusted it, so it's about right here. And I was looking at this at the time. This is it's not even almost set up because the signal bar is terrible. And then you do get a higher low here. By that time, it's already tested the highs, so I don't really like that. Prices push and break out of the high side of what I thought might have been the range defined by this blue line and this darker blue line down here. It does have a first entry long pullback. This was what I was considering at the time. Maybe there's something here, but actually there's no trade here because there's a failed breakout. Breakouts tend to fail, so I'm expecting prices to come back down. The only thing going for it is a bounce off this EMA. So I'm not really that convinced. I want a higher low outside this potential resistance to trust that prices are going to keep moving back up. You get a higher low here, but by the time this higher low shows up, it doesn't even look that great because it's red. It always leaves a little bit of doubt in me when it's not quite the right color. And it pushes up the high side. Looks like it pushes down in this orange, break, test the low. So it's actually visual. First entry long, second entry long is a terrible signal bar. By the time this one closes, this is just too late to try to enter this trade. It just kind of went up too high now. Breaks and pushes back down. Hits this bounce area, which is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Normalize this guy. And it starts rallying up, break, test the high, kind of moves sideways. You could say it's a new high, first entry long pullback. This is second entry long here, but it's inside bar. And then even if this closed nicely, you're going to be buying into this potential blue line resistance, which is not very appealing. And then the count resets here. You just have the first entry long and it pushes back up. Hits this high side, moves down what I think is orange down channel. I tried to extend it or widen the channel to include this to have no overshoot. But whether you did that or not, it does look like it's one big push down. With an overshoot or not, I kept it here and I thought it was a break, tested the low, it starts pushing back up. I thought there's a possible trade here because it does look like, at least on the low side support, it looks decent. It's like a new high, first entry long pullback. Technically you have a second entry, but it also looks like it's just a pushing down. Localized low, first entry short pullback, second entry short. When I saw this, I thought this was a possible trade for the following reasons. This break of this orange down channel broke on the low side and technically has already tested the low. This is the first attempt down. This is the second attempt down. The second attempt down doesn't really do much. So it looks like it's a failed second entry short, and it looks like the second entry short technically hasn't failed yet, but this is a really nice candidate for it to fail. It's bouncing off this trend line. This channel isn't really anything valid yet because up here it really doesn't have any confirmations. Really maybe only 2 touches. I need a third touch. Ideally, if this candle came up to here, then I trust this high side. Nevertheless, I think there's some kind of resistance up here as opposed to maybe a resistance down here. But even if you drew it here and you treat this as a failed breakout, there's still plenty of like room to get my 6-tick scalp. So I thought this was a possible trade here. And I had no idea that it was just going to flash up like this. I'm not sure if the news came out. It's a localized high. It's first entry long pullback, second entry long. This is your second entry long here, but it also looks like it's just one leg down. So I call this more like a visual first entry long. Unfortunately, these three follow-up candles, you could technically count it's a second entry long because it breaks higher, but I'm not that excited when I see the next three candles, which is these guys, technically inside to this guy. And then this guy itself showed that it pushed up and pulled back. So then when it pulled back, the next three candles are struggling to try to break out of this candle's defined range. So that gives me a little bit of pause. And then by the time this one does break out, it's already made a new high. So there's no setup here. Although I could see it as a visual first entry, second entry, but that's more like in hindsight. So it more looks like just a visual first entry. The prices push up and it just kind of moves into this sideways consolidation, which is kind of where we are now. And I'm about to cut the video off now and just kind of throw it up. Don't plan to take any further trades, but even in this range, because I thought maybe this channel might be in play, then it broke out. So I'm thinking actually the range is probably in play. And since this is a failed breakout here, I'm tempted to think that maybe the range is actually slightly lower here. And maybe they'll create some setups further down the next hour, but I'm not going to be here for the next hour to try to trade this. So kind of how I saw the charts today. It's a little quiet, just kind of choppy sideways and prices move up. Not very many opportunities in my opinion. So hopefully that was helpful.